course, like every other top laner. Anyway, let's not waste any more time. Let's hop onto the Rift for game 1. All right, here we go, onto the Rift for the first game of T1 versus Gen.G. Very excited to see how this one is going to pan out because, of course, last time these two teams met, it was a Gen.G victory in the summer final. Now, things have changed on one side, not so much on the other.
It's so interesting because in some ways, the reason why Gen.G was so dominant that season and why they crushed the finals was because Ruler and Lehens knew the meta so extremely well. They were the best Zeri duo, and they were the best Lucian duo. And now we're looking at, okay, yeah, it's Lucian and Zeri again, so many months later, but it's kind of a different iteration, and it's obviously a very different bottom duo. So some Gen.G flavor to a very new 2023 Gen.G.
Exactly. Chovy going to scope out the ward here. Grabs himself a bit of cash money. Feels good about that one. Now, I do want to step away just for a moment. I think it's time for a little bit of education and story time because we have introduced these really, really cool new flags to LoL Park. As you can see, it has all of the accolades of the teams, of course. T1's easily the most full at this point in time, having won so many domestic titles, 10 to be exact, as well as
three international
worlds,
or 3 worlds.
Yeah, 3 worlds. Also an MSI there as well. Just throw a few different options there.
Throw some IEM in there, you know.
Yeah, there's a few accolades. But looking at Gen.G, there's only 2 that are recorded there. One of them is from the Samsung White Blue Days. And the other one is, of course, 2017, the World Championship there. And also being able to pick up their win finally in 2022.
The star Chovy put on the flag.
Yep, but Gen.G have the ability to choose which one of the accolades from their spot. Because, of course, I mean, that could also include MVP Oza because the slot was purchased by Gen.G eventually, but did go down the line many, many times. But they've decided that they want to start their own legacy. They're only including a couple of their accolades. Whereas on the other side of the coin, you've got teams like Harmalife Esports that have taken the 2016 victory of Rox Tigers because that was the slot that they took over. They've included that one on their flag. And Brion, a similar thing. Najin EM Fire in 2012. They've taken that star as well, just to show a bit of the legacy in choosing to do so. And the teams had the opportunity to either do it or not do it. Based on their slot.
Speaking of Rox Tigers, you can see Peanut's win rate on Elise.
Hey, there we go.
Pretty high across his time. And yeah, they wanted to honor that MVP rejoined the league, so didn't steal that one. But in the top lane, Zeus is in trouble.
Yeah, might be having a bit of a bad time here. Turret not going to get tanked just yet. This is being played pretty beautifully by the Nah. However, can be a very difficult time as Doran going to very comfortably just move out of the turret range. Elise, she's just the best divers. Okay, Chovy in a bit of trouble here as he does just flick back the Emperor of Shurima. Faker will assert his dominance, though, as Chovy may just go back home.
That was very close there for Chovy, who doesn't have to use Ghost or anything. Barely had enough mana to use that shove to get himself out safely. Yeah, the dive potential of this Elise, we talked about it. You're not going to be using it defensively at that level 3 timing because the Zeri and Lulu should be under pressure in the lane against this Lucian Nami. You're going to be using it on the top side of the map with the K'Sante pick against the Gnar. And I think T1 very well aware that this is a possibility, but unfortunately Vi's on Raptors right now. Oner's not here to help you out. Like you mentioned, the hop here is beautiful. Jumps on Doran's head, saves the flash here till the last possible second. But there's just too much damage in the kit here of K'Sante this early, and with the repel, there's no way Elise dies to turret. Super easy dive, like you said, for Elise. So strong early on. So already, you know, making us believers a little bit of a different type of Elise, not just bot dive only, and he's back.
It's top dive only, as it turns out, as Zeus doesn't have the flash available. Can hop, and of course has now Oner beside him as well, as a bit of a scuffle on this bottom side. See how things are going to turn out. Of course, both teams aware that junglers are on the top side of the map. As Peanut just wandering all the way through. Okay, lands the Q. But just a bit of harassment here, as you can see. Doran on this K'Sante having a pretty good time. as Bubble going to be avoided really nicely there by Peyz, actually.
I want to point out Gen.G's vision control. They have 3 wards on the top side of the map, a control ward deep next to Raptors. Peanut knows he can pull this off. He's
the heal going to be used preemptively. That is a great cleanse just after the relentless pursuit. Gumayusi may still go down, and there it is. Second blood, sorry, going over to Peyz. But he may just go down. Peanut going to be the first one to fall. Now Peyz looking for even more. This is aggressive. Flashes the last possible second to get out of the way of the Aqua Prison. Gen.G, they give away 1 kill in the aftermath, but otherwise a dive that does work out until it doesn't.
Like I said, though, fishing for those early Zeri kills here in a lot of ways around these early skirmishes, it was tough to pull off, and they did it at the expense of Peanut. But all of that vision I was talking about made Peanut feel like he was safe to pull this off. But let me draw your attention to the mini-map where we actually see Oner passing through lane to make sure he's unseen, knowing this dive is coming. Peanut was spotted top. They know he's passing bottom to look for this dive, and Oner is here. Unfortunately, seconds too late to save his AD carry, but it'll at least take Peanut down as a trade of kills. So really calculated on both sides of the junglers here. Peyz loses Flash as well, which could be relevant in the coming moments as Oner hits level 6.
No, absolutely. I think actually getting that Flash towards the end there is almost even more important than taking down Peanut there with the attempted Flash Vault Breaker from Oner. So not end of the world or anything like that for T1. They're only down a couple of 100 gold, and we've already spoken at length about their composition and its strength, especially as the game continues on. I think mid-game is going to be such a dangerous time for Gen.G before Peyz has hit that 3-item power spike. Doing a decent job here in this lane, as you can see. Very even on farm. And now with the rest of the map working out quite nicely for him, especially there towards the top side with this K'Sante in the early game doing very, very well. Like we've seen sort of across the world, really. K'Sante's been played a heck of a lot in the LPL, but hasn't been very successful at picking up wins. I think a lot of people really like him for the laning phase, but haven't found a way to really transition towards getting those teamfight wins in the later stages of the game. But we'll see how Doran's going to be able to do here. We saw in Challenger earlier in the week that K'Sante was a bit up or down. We did see those K'Sante moments where it feels like he dashes an infinite number of times and you die. Which has been my experience personally. But often you do see him sort of run out of steam.
And he's a really unique champion in that he's very tanky and annoying to deal with, but then he also becomes a deadly killing force, right, in a team fight. And this is the thin line that Guma and Keria are going to have to walk in these team fights, is how do we chip away at this frontliner while also making sure that he's not in range to kill us, shove us through a wall, and create a disaster in the back line, where then you have a Zeri who's just completely uncontested in DPS. Faker has to do a lot of carrying. I mean, Faker himself could be vulnerable if he decides to shuffle in. Doran pops his all out, and then Faker dies. So very scary top laner to deal with in mid to late game team fights. As Peanut's going back for another pass here. Oner this time with ult available.
There's a Weaver's Wall up here as well. Peanut does kind of get thrown away, but the Cocoon is still going to land. Gumayusi will be the first to fall. Keria now down here. Peanut goes up into the sky, trying to escape this one. The glitter lands, but the turret, never mind.
Still in range of that one. Even
ran
after
out of
repel.
spiderlings. You know, you hate to see it. Oh, dear.
Still beautifully played from Peanut here. It's another kill picked up for Peyz. He's 2-0-1, and it sounds crazy what I was mentioning in draft, like fishing for the skirmishes to get Zeri ahead. And we usually see this on a Drake fight. You know, if Zeri gets ahead, the Zeri moment where suddenly she gets 2 kills and you're like, uh-oh, she's accelerated. This is a big problem. They're using the Weaver Wall here to, unfortunately, lock Peanut out, but the hope is to actually make sure that Oner can't come through here to follow up. The execution is a little bit poor here, and Peanut does, of course, once the Spiderlings fall, get that turret aggro and die. But it's still a win for Gen.G because Zeri gets another kill. And the faster Zeri gets accelerated in a draft like this, the better your chances of getting through that mid-game and having those late-game team fights for Peyz that you've been looking for are already up a Drake.
The thing that I'm really enjoying here is a lot of the criticism that Peanut got at Worlds was being too subdued throughout the early game, especially sort of being run around the map. We saw this in the Gen.G versus then Dam1 Kia series, now D plus Kia, of course. And a lot of people were like, oh, you know, Peanut's not playing that way, and blah, blah, blah. But now, back on a champion that he used to be so well known for, especially for his aggression, he's been everywhere on this Elise. Right now, not here. And this is kind of where he wants to be. Oner is going to be spotted, though. They do manage to clear out that ward. Another one going to be picked up here. Value, am I right?
Yeah, big sweeper value. And, you know, so far here, it's not a lost cause or anything like that from T1, but this Lucian pick hasn't gotten the value you normally see when you're willing to give over that red side Zeri Lulu. And I think a lot of this has just been Peanut faster on the draw, which does feel reminiscent, of course, it was a long time ago, of the summer finals where Peanut outplayed Oner in that series quite significantly. Just having a good read on the map nonstop, and he's coming down the long way again.
Yep, Peanut now going to be here for the potential counter gank. We'll see whether Oner's going to go for it, because I believe he is unseen as he lurks in the alcove. Peanut, oh, he gets the information. And there, finds the cocoon. They dive on top of Oner. The ult comes through from Peyz. Tidal Wave is beautiful for the defense. Oner does manage to get out. Flash, though, did have to be used as Doran has to dash away from these boomerangs.
That was so scary for T1 there for a moment, because Oner made the conscious decision, I'm going to stay here. I think we win this 3v3, but if Zeri gets more kills,
Yeah, Chovy does have Flash available. Elects not to use it as he flashes eventually to get out of the way of the Conquering Sands. Holds on. Oh, the Ghost was actually not off cooldown just yet. Zeus looking for another kill opportunity as Oner's moving on in as well. Volatile Spiderling spots this out. The Cocoon is going to land on the man to the backside of the fight. Not actually connecting onto Oner there, but Chovy is just going to keep his cool and head back home.
Yeah, this does, of course, delay Chovy's back a little bit here, and this means Peanut's going to have to pick up the CS. So this is kind of frustrating, losing a lot of money here. Faker going to get a big win from this. But Doran, meanwhile, on the top side, because of that huge roam for Zeus to try to commit to the kill onto Chovy, will lose some plates.
Delight just having a bit of fun there.
He certainly is.
He's like, I can fight too, guys. You remember when it was Azir versus Lulu every game? You remember that, don't you, Faker?
Yeah. So reminding him of the good old days, and by good, I mean not good.
It was good for Faker. I think his win rate on Lulu is absurdly high.
Good times. It's good to be nostalgic sometimes. For those who don't know Delight, this may surprise you, but he was a Fredit Breon player who got called up here to replace Lehens, but he had one of his best seasons, if not his best season in his career in summer 2022. Impressed everyone despite being on a very weak team. Most famous for his Rakan, but he has a very wide champion pool of supports he can play. Very good at the Lulu as well.
I think we've enjoyed him on Enchanter supports kind of the most.
His Renata.
But Rakan really is sort of the standout, which is weird because that's more of the engaged style. But his Renata definitely very, very good. He's just a really great player that I thought was lacking in a bit of accolades.
Yeah.
You could say. So I think you and I especially were very, very keen to see him finally on a team now where he can perform a little bit better, and we'll see whether he does.
Yeah, he's one of those hipster players where you're like, if you're a really hardcore fan of the LCK and you watch everything, you know he deserves a better team.
Yeah.
But if you're not, you're like, who is this guy? Was he on Pro? That's weird.
I mean, if you're just like typing "we knew it" GigaChat in chat, then we know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and
because
you would be
you're
right.
the true fans, right?
This control ward is getting big value here from Faker as it spots Peanut's approach, so he will be able to easily just kite up to the top of the lane here and not get ganked. Oner comes over to set up potentially for a follow-up here, but it's a big party of Gen.G players grouping for Dragon.
Yeah. All right, the Dragon going to be started here. Chovy, Weave as well at the ready.
Yeah,
spotted out. As Oner has the opportunity to go in for a little bit of a steal. Oh, the polymorph is beautiful. That is going to mean that Peanut can lock this one down. Of course, very difficult to steal things away from an Elise. Very similar to that of Elise in. The execute on the Spider Form Q is just pretty good at getting rid of any issues. As Chovy is going to Ghost. Not often a early Ghoster or an early user of Summoner spells, as we saw in the previous engage. This time around, very intelligently, just going to make sure that that one works out as Doran dashing and he gets thrown away.
Chovy's been under so much pressure this game and has just handled it so perfectly. Finds himself significantly behind in CS as a result, and it's a tough matchup into Azir, obviously, to win that because Faker is going to have that extra prio, he has that extra range, but he survived so many attempts by Oner and crew and walks away unscathed, essentially using his unsealed spellbook to grab more value out of Ghost. And finally, this Herald will be taken, by the way. Of these two teams, these are the teams that usually are the Herald teams. Taking it very late this time around. We'll actually miss the plate gold, but going to be taken now by Gen.G, who have both objectives, or both Drakes taken now a third in a row here in this Drake, or rather Herald, excuse me, going all to Peanut. Will cost them a turret, but
Yeah, I mean, what's happening here? The bottom lane is just being forsaken. Peyz is going to grab himself a red buff.
Yeah.
And T1 are going to look for an inner turret. I mean, what are Gen.G going to do about it? They've also got full pressure here in this mid lane as well.
Looks like a bit of a failed, awkward lane swap here where Gen.G wanted to swap early and send Doran down, but he didn't have teleport. And so they wanted to rotate Peyz and Delight over to defend the Herald that T1 didn't contest. So everything was a little bit mistimed and out of whack. And they'll be able to at least save their inner turret. But yeah, that's a lot of free money going over to the Lucian Nami here.
Yeah, really nicely played from T1 macro-wise, but a little bit of a flub, it felt like, for Gen.G, dropping the ball slightly. However, it's more of an investment composition, right? You look down the line, you're like, there's a Zeri. Late game, right, guys? I'm not sure whether that's exactly how this composition is going to work in the later stages, because they have a lot of more pick and skirmish mid-game style champions around the Zeri.
Yeah.
But Zeri by herself is late game win condition, right? As Faker, yeah. Not going to get found out. Will get flicked as Oner looking for his opportunity. Cease and desist available, but not going to be used.
Can't hide on bush, the hide on bush.
Exactly. He invented this.
Will use his game sense there and blue trinket to spot out those enemies and then back away. And Gen.G having a bit of a rougher early mid-game here in terms of finding value. Do have a Herald that's very late that they can't get much value out of. In fact, are going to lose their mid-turret here to the group of a 4. 1-3-1-ing in terms of getting extra experience here, but not threatening that bottom turret is Doran, nor is Chovy in a position where he can actually guarantee that turret gold top himself. Faker's just going to come up here and collect the pieces. It's a cannon wave, so he's not losing much. So T1 really losing nothing, and it's they who actually come and grab mid-turret, even Heraldless.
Yeah. And, I mean, there is a lot about this that is T1 just having better macro, better understanding and better positioning around the map, but also a little bit can be said about how Gen.G is playing this one out. Tidal Wave is going to come through. Peyz now kiting quite nicely here as Gumayusi just gives Doran a back massage. Zeus getting thrown back, but the Nahbar is going to come through. Still needs to be respected. They're unable to get the outer turret in the mid lane. Shirley does basically nothing there. And meanwhile, Faker's on the top side of the map. Weaver's Wall will come in, and now Gen.G are trying to force. There it is. Oner should be taken down here as Peyz manages to pick up that kill, but Peanut immediately taken out. Doran just running behind the turret, diving forward onto Zeus, and Faker just says, welcome to the LCK, Peyz. You're just now some money in my pocket. He's now slightly overextended. Doran will be able to take him down, but the message has been sent.
The message was sent for sure, Atlas, but they actually take the Zeri out this time. A third kill does go over, but at least they prevent Zeri from getting a little bit too crazy in this team fight. So we might have had to certify that one otherwise. Starting this fight off, Faker is on top turret. Gen.G know he has teleport, but they want to actually attack this angle so quickly that they get the instant blow up. It's really Zeus who's the hero of this fight because his Narbar is ready. He gets the knockback, buys enough time for Faker to teleport in, and then Faker gets the huge Emperor's Divide. Without that play from Zeus, they don't have enough time. Faker gets turned on, Zeri survives, and it's a completely different story. Still good here for Gen.G overall, forcing out that teleport, saving the top turret. But it could have been a lot worse if Zeus hadn't had that heroic play.
Yeah. T1 come out the other end of this feeling very, very good as far as money is concerned. They will now lose their top outer turret. There it goes. But in position to deny Soul Point. Very valuable Soul as well if they're able to stack up more of them.
Zeri.
My goodness, that sounds very, very scary. Yeah, exactly. If Gen.G can lock it down, it feels great for them also. But teleport going to come towards that mid lane.
Yeah, Cassante for Doran here, like you say, coming around here on the backside a little bit, has to clear this wave. T1 going to try to collapse in. Zeus trying to manage his Narbar really well here so we can set up for the engage. Now it's going to turn on to Doran, though he's so far back and alone.
There it is. Cease and desist is going to come through. Doran tries to ult to get himself out of there. Does make him a little bit less defensive, but now Tidal Wave going to be used beautifully. Keria has to flash to get out of the way of his former teammate's flick. Not going to be seismically shoved this time around, though, but still, Keria with no flash. I mean, that's largely a dead Nami in a lot of scenarios.
Doran has no TP. He has to run all the way back. This is really risky for Gen.G to contest, but they feel like with a full health Zeri, they've got enough here. Chovy still has ult.
Yeah, Weaver's Wall can be so impactful in this moment. He's going to use it here, seeing whether he can split them off. Relentless Pursuit to get over the wall, but now Zeus in the back of the pit. He's going to be the one that locks down the dragon. a disaster for Gen.G. They were really relying on that to give them that extra control of the game. But instead, they get nothing.
That was so well played by Zeus in the right spot to try to deny this, but still very fortunate that he does lock that one down because the Weaver's Wall did split T1 quite literally in half, and there was no way to directly contest the Dragon otherwise without giving more kills over to Zeri. This all starts off with Doran looking for a long con flank after he pushed the mid wave in. He gets punished, quote unquote. He still escapes because Cassante is crazy. But once he's out of the fight, this is essentially a 5v4 fight that Chovy can dictate with his Weaver's Wall. And when he does come in to do this, like I said, very fortunate that Zeus can actually steal this one away.
And that was forced to repel, I guess,
yeah.
But I think he came down. I think it was just a 50-50 that went awry.
For sure.
50-50 that got picked up by the rest of the percentage, which is Zeus.
It was a bit of a miss-smite.
Yeah, it's like a 49-49-2, and the 2 managed to get it.
Yeah, he was in position to connect onto it, and they were going to be able to get out pretty easily with Vi and Gnar, the 2 champions in the pit there. But I think T1 could thank their lucky stars they got that, because if we're walking away with they escape, but Gen.G has Soul Point here, you're feeling very bad as a T1 fan, with Zeri now already on 2 items, and Gen.G being on Soul Point.
Yeah, no, 100%. Especially when it is such a powerful Drake for the composition that they're putting together. Could be definitely a get-out-of-jail-free card in theory. Of course, still need to be able to win these team fights in T1. Remember, they didn't change this roster for a reason. It's because they do work so well together. They've got a comp that can perform extraordinarily well when they are on the same page. We've seen it already. Zeus going to move out of the way of that one quite comfortably.
Yeah, here comes Elise, though. It's going to be the whole
seen
squad.
This movie before. Cocoon is going to connect. That is a very dead Gnar. But does that mean T1 are able to take down this Baron already? They are on top of it. Chovy will be able to get the information, but can the rest of the team actually get there in time?
It's a good question. I mean, he's got Weaver's Wall, but there's no follow-up here. This is going to be super tight. He cuts them in half.
Yeah, does give the information, but I have a feeling they can just rush this one down. Tidal Wave is fantastic at buying time.
Can they get out, though? I think they can.
Yeah, and Zeus is like, well, guys, you managed to get a Baron.
Well,
and the rest of them are like, thanks for your donation.
It's going to be tight.
Let's see how they manage to escape this one. Gumayusi's the one that first gets the information. As now Chovy over from the side. The rest of T1 just cool, calm, and collected, get themselves back, empowered recalls, and they'll go home.
Yeah, with the empowered recalls, there's just no reason for Gen.G to try to attempt to collapse and chase here.
Oh,
then when they let
take
it go,
a turret first, yeah.
When they let him go, and once T1 realizes they're just going to let us recall, they can commit to killing the turret here with those Baron minions. Very easy. So T1 getting a massive win here. Yeah, you lose your Gnar player alone bottom side, but if you don't need his damage, his minimal damage on a Baron, it doesn't matter. And look at how close T1 are to setting up this Baron. It almost feels like this was orchestrated, baited from the beginning. Oner's top side, they know it's just Chovy there, and even with Weaver's Wall, it's not going to buy you that much time.
Absolutely.
This is something we saw T1 do all year last year, and they do it again in 2023.
It's gorgeously done. The early T1 Barons. They'll get them some way, somehow. Wolf, and this time it was sacrifice your Gnar and then take it for free. And I feel like that's a pretty good way of doing it. Seismic Shove is going to connect, but Gumayusi doesn't seem too worried about it as they continue to siege down ever further. The gold has barely changed, but still a lot of time with this Baron. A minute and a half to be precise as T1 rotate over towards this inner turret bottom side of the map. Doran desperately wanting to clear out this wave, but he's a tanky boy, not so much a DPS boy when it comes to clearing these waves.
Not so much, but he'll have some help from Peyz here. Peyz going to pick up some extra money and actually grabs Last Whisper here.
Tidal Wave. Chovy going to get tagged by that one. The culling comes on in. Seismic Shove is really good at forcing out that relentless pursuit, making sure that you don't get tagged by that too much.
If the Tidal Wave hits at a slightly better angle and Faker has the follow-up Emperor's Divide, you could really pull somebody from a large amount of distance out onto the turret and pick them off, but doesn't end up working out. Now it's a huge tool gone before this Baron, or rather, excuse me, before this Drake, but Gen.G are just in no position to contest it.
Yeah. Peyz as well, forced to buy himself a Last Whisper as well, but now a potential fight. Seismic Shove is going to pull back Gumayusi. still he's able to get out. Doran now finds himself on the flank. They managed to get the kill on the Lucian. That is a lot of DPS now missing. All eyes on Faker now as T1 look to try and escape to light. So extraordinarily low as Oner diving on in already. Gets into that backline. Chovy goes golden to make sure that he mitigates it, but Faker has picked up one already. There's the Gnar. The Emperor's Divide as well. Chovy goes down for the double kill. Oner's going to fall, and Peyz is the last hope here for Gen.G. But it's not going to be enough. He's just going to skate his way out. Does not want to tempt fate this time. Faker is dead. There is not necessarily a lot of DPS left on T1.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, maybe back away from this one. Don't chase too far, as Peyz will get out here. Down both summoners now, of course. We did see Faker flash early in the fight, but the Emperor's Divide is amazing. The follow-up from Zeus is great, and technically speaking, T1 do win the team fight because of it. This is the earlier exchange, right? They're up on the turret. Chovy tries to come over here and cut off Faker and Guma. Will force a flash, and then Guma gets caught by Doran. And at this moment in time, you're thinking, there's just no way T1 win this fight. Zeus comes in with no Narbar here on the teleport. Faker dodges this, comes in. There's a follow-up there. Oner's on top of Chovy, forces him to stopwatch. So much DPS is missed. And this is just beautiful team fighting. 1-2 punch here. Gnar into Emperor's Divide, and everybody's locked up. Chovy was in stasis for most of this fight.
Yeah.
So who cares if you don't have a Lucian?
And Keria as well manages to land the Aqua Prison onto the Zeri over the wall, mitigating so much of that damage. Really nicely done. But now another fight. Gen.G have started off this Drake. T1 in position. All 5 members. All buttons ready to be pressed as Doran dives on forward. That's going to be Soul Point, but now the fight is going to begin. Oner inside the pit. Immediately, Doran's just going to try and bring him out of there. The all-out is going to come through. There's the cease and desist. Can Doran actually win this one as Peyz skates over to meet the Vi? Doran dashes into the brush, but Gen.G should be able to escape with this dragon in hand.
Yeah, they grab the dragon here, and T1, with just a Nami and a Gnar from the previous fight, aren't able to take it. They chase Peyz a little bit. Then Gen.G are able to reset just in time, and the chase was on there. And this is one of the things that K'Sante could do so well is, yeah, he can't actually win that exchange, but he could put so much pressure on the T1, have to focus him down, and the rest of Gen.G get positional advantage and take down the Drake. So not a bloody take of the Drake, but still Gen.G walk away with that massive advantage now on Soul Point. Zeri,
yep.
LDR is done. 3-item Zeri, so terrifying.
Doesn't have the Infinity Edge, so not maximum damage just yet, but will be once that IE comes through. An absolutely gigantic threat. LDR at this point, definitely a good idea, given the fact that those resistances have started to come through.
You've pulled Oner out of this fight, and Zeus is like, I don't have a Gnar bar yet. Do I try to turn here and go for the fight on the right side, or do I try to punish this K'Sante? And it's a tough call you have to make because your team is also kind of getting cut by that Chovy ultimate, right? The Weaver's Wall, and there's just so much being thrown at T1. It's so difficult to navigate these team fights when Gen.G has the good setup.
It's true. However, I think T1 are in a much better position if they're not fighting 4v5. So every time you see that Gumayusi actually exists in the team fight, just take into account that they managed to win a fight without him.
Yeah.
So definitely still a scary time to be Gen.G as Oner possibly caught out here. Doran dives on in. There's the exhaust. He's still very, very tanky. Delight has to run the heck out of there as he's taken down almost to nothing. Gumayusi finds his moment and just tags the Lulu. And now it is T1's turn to have 5 versus 4.
Yeah, and this means no wild growth for this fight. If Peyz is going to carry it, he's going to do so without that critical ultimate here. Chovy's ult coming up online. Here we go.
Well, Faker has said that he wants to start this one off first. Doesn't exactly find too much joy there with the Emperor's Divide, but the rest of the team, they're there to clean up, and there is nothing that Gen.G can do. Doran, yeah, he dashes a million times, but it doesn't matter. Eventually, he will head to the Death Chamber, and the second Baron to be picked up here for T1.
Who needs dragons? T1's just taken the purple one up here on the top side of the map, 2 for 2, and now you have the ability to push and really threaten these inhibitor turrets and actually start taking Gen.G out of the map here. The timing was so beautiful of the engage from Faker. Pulls out the stopwatch of Peyz so instantly that it's easy to follow up with the Aqua Prison. And turning on to Oner here to try to pick them off is so difficult because of this tidal wave. Look at Chovy and Peyz completely zoned out, and by the time they come in here after this Gale Force, they're down a Lulu. There is no wild growth, and we're not done yet.
Yeah, Peanut will be able to slink his way out. Spiderlings give him away, but that's not what T1 are interested in. They want to be able to take down this inner turret on the bottom side and get to work.
I was scared when we cut replays like that. Sometimes it means somebody's dying.
Well, I mean, it was almost
Yeah.
so I think it was a good idea to kind of get out of it and get on with the action.
Speaking of, it's slow action, but it's like I said, inhibitor turrets under threat now.
Yeah, Chovy just going to try and help throw some rocks around, clear out these waves as best he can, but not exactly the greatest at taking down these super creeps. They're standing so far away. Does have seismic shot. When that does land, things work out quite nicely. Pretty tanky here with the Baron buff now available as Doran diving forward, doesn't find Zeus. Gen.G well and truly on the ropes.
Have such a good angle for Faker here. If anyone overextends, level 16, Gen.G just has to respect it and let that turret go. Faker going to keep this ranged minion alive here. This cannon just chipping away at the inhibitor.
Well, Gen.G, do they have one last team fight in them? Keria says maybe they do, as he throws a wave towards them. But it is looking really, really difficult. And the amount of pressure that T1 have had this entire game long, no matter what has actually happened, when it comes to these two teams facing off against each other and trading blows, none of that really matters, because T1 have been in better positions on the map for the whole game.
And the more critical objective has been not solo elemental drakes, but the Baron and what T1 does with it. And their map reads have been so good. Every time Gen.G wins a fight or gets a kill, T1 gets something greater cross-map on the other side. And this is just the veteran shot calling from Faker once again showing through. He's been so good at it throughout these last few years of play, where he's led these young players to so many successful seasons.
Yeah, not to mention the well-oiled machine that is this T1 squad. However, Oner is going to take a lot of damage. We almost caster cursed him, but he got out. Absolutely fine, doesn't count. Loses his flash, that's fine. They are going to get to work now on this Hextech Drake. Only their second dragon of the game is now Peanut. Could be in trouble. Has to repel, but has absolutely nowhere to go. Oh, the timing was amazing on that tidal wave. And now Zeus trying to fight too. Chovy is here to teleport to come through. They want to try and even out the scoreline while this dragon goes down. And I think, once again, Sacrificial Na is going to come through. Zeus is like, I'm done, I'm getting out of here. Tries to get into the Hexgate, it does not work. And that is a 7th kill for Peyz. In the meantime, Doran does have to use that extended dash towards an ally there with his E in order to survive the attempted gank in that mid lane.
Pretty aggressive attempt there this time from Guma with the Gale Force there. Will not be able to take out, unfortunately, the Cassante, but does look for it. And T1, they grab a second Hextech Drake. That's not the most important thing, like what the Drake does for them. It's just denying it here from Gen.G. That's so important, because if a steal here is massive for Gen.G because it allows them to defend their base better, it gives them an Elder fight. Peanuts picked here first. The tidal wave timings, the bubble timings, Aqua Prisons from Keria have been immaculate this game. Like, you probably my front runner for PUG.
I mean, he's 100% kill contribution at 33 minutes into the game.
I gotta say, like, whenever we think Keria has done it all, you know, he can't impress you anymore. He's literally the first support player to pick up an MVP in the LCK. He just comes back and he's like, it's a new year, same me, it's not going to mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. He just doesn't. He's just extraordinarily good. As another flick will connect here, as Oner is like, a bit annoyed. And he's just going to call for a cease and desist onto Doran. Nice unstoppable there, but I don't think it's really going to work out. Gets himself a big old shield. Does have the Gargoyle Stoneplate in order to help him survive. That means cooldown is now wasted, but does still have his Ghost intact, so not exactly end of the world or anything like that. And Gargoyle Stoneplate, not exactly the largest cooldown, so
yeah,
should be fine.
He'll be okay. Will Gen.G be okay is the question we don't have the answer to.
It's happened though, Wolf.
What's happened?
The Infinity Edge hasn't been completed.
It's now the full, you know,
we have the
real
certification authority on speed dial, as once again, Zeus in a little bit of a troubling situation. Peyz, fair bit of damage, as we mentioned before, but Crush gets Zeus out of there, and not going to overextend as T1 do collapse.
He does have teleport as well, and Baron's still a full minute away, so not going to be too impactful at the end of the day. At least he survives this time, doesn't need to flash either. Yeah, now Zeri is truly at her normal 3-item power spike, of course at 4 items in this case.
It's a bit sad, isn't it, Wolf?
It's
that,
weird.
This game, this first game for Peyz in the LCK, he is now the last hope for the LCK champions. As Cocoon connects.
Is it sad, or is it an opportunity to prove yourself?
It is definitely an opportunity, but it is so much pressure as now He, yeah, takes a lot of damage there from Gumayusi, who says, no, it's not your time. I'm sorry.
His team will
not in your first game, buddy.
Yeah, his team will have to give him an opportunity to prove himself because Zeri's not a one-man team.
Well, nah, he's going to pull Doran back, and he is just dead. Very nicely picked up there. Gumayusi, the one to grab that last hit, but Zeus setting up for it, finally getting his revenge there.
These picks, you know, the timing of Baron, it's perfect for T1. You poke out Peyz, he has to back away. You can't look for a punish as Gen.G. You can't look for that fight. Suddenly T1 get a kill. That's all they need for a Baron.
Exactly, and okay, that's a really nice flick there onto Faker. He does go golden, trying to keep himself alive as Peyz going to get engaged on Cease and Desist comes in. The chain of CC is gorgeous. Gumayusi's able to lock down that kill. Faker does eventually go down, but there's just no damage left. It's just cleanup here for T1 as Chovy, he's like, I'm walling it. I'm getting out of here. I'm done.
Save my KDA.
As, yeah, Oner is going to say, nah. It is going to be, you know, a bit of a fight for it, but I think that Oner is going to be tanky enough. Walks out of the way, the threaded volley, and there he goes.
Chovy's like, let him kill the Nexus.
Well, here we go. T1 are going to be able to take game number 1 here. Gen.G had a few moments here and there, but ultimately T1 owned this map and looked so
individual players.
Yeah, and so they were always ready to counter the fact that Zeus was getting picked on. And meanwhile, as soon as anyone gets picked on Gen.G, it's like Baron's gone, Dragon's gone, 3 turrets are gone.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's just, must have been very, very difficult. Chovy still did do a heck of a lot of damage. I'm not entirely sure how that managed to happen.
So much.
Peanut as well did a fair bit of work.
So many times he's just pressing his...